Okay, you've had 60 seconds of Epidemic Sound Instrumental. Uninterrupted. And of course, now I've interrupted. What is it? It's June 5th. It's Thursday. I want to let you know that I've changed the way I title these broadcasts, the date format. It's going to be day, month, year, not month, day, year. That way we have, the year all the way on the right, then we have the month in the middle, and we got the day of the month in the beginning. So it would be 05/06/2025. Yeah, I started that this week. Just so, the order of magnitude of the values goes from left to right, which makes sense, right? So, anyway, so tomorrow it'll be 06/06/2025, in which case you won't know what the heck's going on. And the day after that, it's going to be 07/06/2025. The days will be the very leftmost 2 digits. And they'll click up one by one until we graduate to the next month. And then the middle 2 digits will go from 06 to 07. It's not that complicated. I don't know why we ended up with some kind of convention where the day was in the middle and the month was on one side and the year was on the other. I mean, logically, that makes no sense at all. Except when you write it out, like typewriter, or write it out. You might say March 27, 2025, where you have the date in the middle. But that's when you type it out. But in digital format, the order of magnitude should be the smaller values are on the left and the bigger values are on the right. Because if you click up, from 2025 to 2026, you're advancing 365 days with just one turn of, 25/5 to 2026, 2027. To me, it's just a logical progression of things. Yeah, there we go. Whoop. Yeah. There I am. Hello, everybody. It's 69.6 degrees in here, if you're wondering why I've got several layers of clothing. Because it's a little chilly, it seems like all studios are, chilly. We've got to swap cameras here because I like to be on the right side of things. And we just swap them. We take the video feed from the camera and we move it over to the right. We like to be on the right side of things. There we go. Turn down the lights a little bit because we don't need a lot of light in here. We got all these beautiful screens. They're all old iPads, by the way. I have them on different kinds of stanchions, holding them up. This is a video feed from one of the local networks, which is a delayed broadcast. And then this is another iPad right here. This is an iPhone right here. Yeah, you can see the little analog clock on the edge. Yeah, that's... I didn't realize that was in the field of view when we have another camera, which I have connected to an iPad. This wire right here, this big white wire, a special digital cable. cost 100, and don't tell Marilyn, it cost $100 for the stupid wire. Ooh, yeah, this is all like commercial grade stuff, you know. I want you to hear me in living color. I got a soundboard over here, which you can just kind of like see the top of it. I don't think I can really. Let's see if I can bend that down a little bit. Yeah, you just see the top. Yeah, this is my my cup of coffee, which is not so hot. Yes, I've been. There we go. We just get it to the top of those. Yeah, and over right there, that's the time of day. Oh, 9:10. 10 minutes after 9. Yeah. So, you know, that's an order of magnitude. You got the minutes, hours, minutes, and seconds. I mean, it's like reversed, but that's okay. That would have probably been the smart thing to do, is like have the date like the time. 2025 / you know, 06 05, where the very rightmost digit is the day, year, month, day, instead of day, month, year. I'll think on that for a while. But that's how digital clocks are. You know, the hour. If there was another category, it would be day, you know, to the left of that. And to the left of that would be month, and then the left of that would be year. It would be clicking on by. Yeah. Where the rightmost digit has the least value. Tenths of a second. You know, over here, this thing is counting away. And so I've been talking about this for 8 minutes and 18 seconds. Yeah. You can see that in living color. You can see my straw sticking out of my mug here. And we can rotate that around if you want. I have a little doodad on top of here, which really belongs over here. Put that over there. This sits on top of that. This is my founder's, my fox. I'll pick this out and show it to you. If I can get it. There we go. This is my Fox, official Fox founder coin. Founder of what? What did you find? There we go. That's on one side. And that's on the other side. There you go. See, now you can see it really good. Let's see what we do that. Then you can see what that looks like. Yeah, look at that. Fox Nation. I was one of the first subscribers to Fox, and I just put that on top of there. So if there's something, when you guys zoom in on my high definition broadcast, you can see all these little doodads. This is the key to my car. It's a card embedded in this little silicone case, so that if and when I need to valet my car, the super duper key to the car is inside this little silicone case. And on this side, I have my passport card, so that anybody, if I were to misplace this, they could see, they could mail it back to me, because it's got my current address on there, I think. Turn up the lights here for a minute. I can't see what's on this stupid card. No, there's no address on there. And there's no anything on there for communications. Yeah, all right. Well, at least they can see it's a photo ID. That's what I was angling at. I've got 3 of these cards. three of these silicone cases. This one has my driver's license in it, and I think my concealed carry. Do I have a concealed carry gun thing in here? No, I got my health cards. Okay, I've been moving this stuff around, so right now I don't know where anything is. Everything is somewhere else. Let's see, what's behind my business card here? That's my FAU card. Oh, my debit card is behind there, because I give them this, and then they just tap it on their cash register, and it picks up the information from the card without having to get in here and get to the card. It's very handy. I don't want those dirty fingerprints all over my cards. It's not bad. It's just it protects the card, you know. So when I go out to breakfast, I carry these three. There's a few more business cards. This is my first driver's license. Would you believe it? 40 Andover Road. That's the very first one. Oh, here's another card. These are my actual passports right here, bundled up. That's it right there. I have my United States Constitution right there. And inside this packet, let's see what we got in here. Oh, we got a couple of, we've got well, might as well just go ahead and put my digital business card be exposed on this one. It's another credit card in there. There you go. Digital imaging. All right. Might as well just carry 4 cards. What the hell? In a really confused situation. That just fits right in my pocket. Better have a big pocket, right? Yeah. Yeah, it weighs about a half a pound. Anyway. Well, I was excited to see Marilyn went out to lunch yesterday, and they handed out United States pocket versions of the United States Constitution, which I happen to have one right here. Everybody should have one of these. I have 20 of them behind me, and anytime I go out to lunch or dinner with somebody, I give them the United States Constitution. And I say, let this make an indelible impression on you that this document is important. It is. There you go. I got all 4 of those things. And inside one of those, I hope, is my concealed carry permit, which is a 7-year permit. I had to take a test. I had to have a shooting test. Best practices, safety. Don't aim the gun at anybody. Don't have it armed unless you're ready to shoot. In other words, don't put a bullet in the chamber unless you are prepared to shoot it. Immediately, so to speak. And then you hold your finger like this, not on the trigger, resting against the trigger guard. When you're ready to shoot, then you slip your finger in where the trigger is and get ready to pull it. When you pull it, it's going to go bang. And something's going to shoot out the end of that thing. And make it hurt. I have, in my handguns, I have loaded in there 115 grain bullets, which are, hollow point kind of bullets with plus P, extra powder for super high velocity. So when that sucker hits you, bam! And then it's going to explode inside of you and rip all your muscles, and you're not going to like it. So, and it goes super fast. It goes like, 1,350 feet per second. That's a supersonic bullet. It goes faster than the speed of sound. So the person is going to get hit even before he hears the bang of the gun. He's going to get hit and then bang. Hit, bang. It's going to be close together because the supersonic is, 13. It's not like 3,000 feet per second, which gets there 3 times the speed of sound, or 2.5. But anyway, so the ammunition that I use for the handgun is a light round with an extra touch of gunpowder, or maybe a slightly different mix of the gunpowder, which gives it more energy. I don't know which one it is. My guess is there's an extra couple of grains of gunpowder in there. Increase the pressure. So the chamber pressure goes from like 35,000 psi to like 50,000 psi. Everything I just said is a guess. But it increases the chamber pressure, meaning you've got this bullet that's in a tube, right? The firing pin hits the back end of the bullet, and then the bullet starts to move because the gases expand as the gunpowder ignites and burns and creates, the pressure inside the barrel. So now the bullet is still in the barrel, but it's in the middle of the barrel. Let's say it's starting to move and rotate with the rifling inside the barrel. There's a helix of little ridges inside the barrel of a modern handgun, which gets the projectile spinning to give it more stability as it's rapidly flying through the air. Anyway, so as the bullet is moving inside the chamber of the barrel, the chamber pressure, in other words, if you had a pressure gauge, and the tests have been done where they drilled a little hole in the barrel and they screwed on, a sensor that could measure the chamber pressure in pounds per square inch. And a regular round, the chamber pressure may be 30,000 pounds per square inch, which is a lot of pounds per square inch. I mean, that's a lot of pressure. Well, that's what pushes the bullet through the barrel and gets it up to that, let's say 1,000 feet per second for a 113 grain bullet shot out of a 5-inch barrel, on a Glock, Model 17. That might have a 6-inch barrel. I think it does. I have all the barrels I have are threaded barrels, so I can screw on my silencer. Yeah, took me a year to get that. Jeez. They do a lot of background investigation before they give you permission to buy the stamp, which is a $205 stamp. Can you imagine? It's like a postage stamp, and they glue it on your application. And then they image that and send it back to you to show that you've paid your federal stamp authorizing your silencer. They don't call it silencer, they call it, sound suppression. Yeah. It's a very, annoying process. But, that's where the laws are written. And Silencer Co., literally, Silencer Co., is the name of the company. Silencerco.com, I think. They do it for you. They fill out all the stuff. You type it all in on a kiosk laptop that's in the gun store. There are a number of gun stores that have these Silencer Co. Kiosks right in there, because they take you right through. If you're going to buy a rifle with a short barrel, instead of an 18-inch barrel, you want a 10-inch barrel or 12-inch barrel. You got to get licensed to have such a thing, because it's in theory more dangerous, and they want to make sure you're safe to own such a weapon. Yeah. Yeah. There you go. I'm watching. When I sit here, I have my eyes glued to one of these gauges right here, which you can barely see. It goes green and then yellow and then red if I get too noisy. Yeah. I can get closer and bang it into my glasses, and then you can hear the low frequency of my voice even more. Yeah, I move back a little bit and it's not quite so noisy. So if I keep that microphone right between my eyes, that gives the best tonal quality. A little on the nasal side as I bang this thing into my glasses. Yeah, no bangy. So we keep it about 2 inches away, and that keeps the volume level here so it doesn't overmodulate. I may turn that down just a little bit so that it makes it harder to overmodulate. Yeah, that's better. Yeah. Now this is about as racy as I get with this broadcast, but here's an article. We have some new data. People that take Ozempic, and apparently in Britain, they measured penis sizes, and if you take Ozempic, your penis gets longer. And the average penis in Britain, if you're on Ozempic, for your diabetes and all that, your penis is going to be 5.63 inches instead of 5.17 inches, which is an increase of 0.46 inches. I swear to God, this is a story that I found today in some British publication. And meanwhile, just to be ethnically aware, meanwhile, in Venezuelans, they came out on top of the overall thing because their penises, if you take Ozempic for a couple of years, has increased, holy crap, by 1.4 inches. So their penises are now 6.676 and 2/3 inches. Because they took Ozempic. That's a nice surprise. So therefore, we have a picture of some blue jeans, men's blue jeans, and there's a 6.5-inch ruler sticking out instead of a penis. I thought I'd spare you the visual of that. And look at this, on the cover of Flipboard, we have a 200-year-old, hopefully an unused condom. You can see, and etched on this column material that is, this is Amsterdam, at Amsterdam's museum, Rijksmuseum. It's a 200-year-old condom featuring exotic etching. It's on display. In case you were wondering what they did 200 years ago, yep, there you go. I did an expando so you could see. And there you have a man, the etching of a man with apparently a penis. onto which he puts the condom. That's his girlfriend waiting for him to put his condom on, and then you can put your thingy in me. Otherwise, no soap. Anyway, so that's there you go, a 200-year-old condom on one side of this picture, and then on the other side of the picture, we've got evidence of penis growth because of Ozempic. Now that's it controls your blood sugar and other things, and apparently it is conducive to larger penises on the average of about an inch. Venezuelans run about an inch and a half bigger. The British population, runs about a half inch longer, and then everyone else is in the middle, and you get a complete full inch. Now, when you only got 5 inches to begin with, or 5.5, and you go from 5.5 to 6.5, that's a let's do a little math. I know you get, let's just 6.5 divided by 5.5 equals, that's an 18% increase in your penis size. I hope you're not eating your breakfast right now. But that's the latest from the British News Tribune thing, whatever. Oh, gosh. Let's go back and see if there's any newer news. Let's see. Trump. Of course, there's news about Trump. What else is going on around here? Well, I can show you. Let's see. He had a conversation with Putin, and apparently it's not going well. Kiev just initiated a series of unexpected drone strikes on aircrafts deep inside of Russia last weekend, and blew up, like 40 aircraft. I mean, that's a lot, at 20 million a copy. Whew, that's a lot of money. Jeez. The aircraft are out of commission. Of course, you got to clean up all the mess, and that would mean that in theory, the runways are probably damaged, so you couldn't take off from the airport anyway. Yep. Here's another thing. All right, so let's go back. We got some interesting news here. What's this one? Yeah, Trump has closed. There's 12. There's at least 12 countries. Is this the right story? I've read these stories. Let's see, what's this one? Oh, this is the lifestyles of the rich and famous. We'll get to that a little later. This one here, Meghan Markle, she shares intimate photos of a rarely seen daughter, Little Bet. But they just called her Lilibet. I looked at the photos. They're nice, sweet photos of this little, 1.5, 2-year-old. Big deal, but they haven't been releasing any photos of this little honey, who is, in line for the British Empire. Yeah, I mean, it's the daughter of, the prince. Yeah. Henry. All right, what are the steps for choosing the correct flight school if you want to learn how to fly? I had some lessons from a college roommate of mine a few years ago, And he got his flight instructor license. And he said, "Jimmy, how would you like to be my first patient?" Your first subject. Yeah. I said, "Sure, let's do it." So he said, "There's only one condition." I said, "Oh, what's that?" "Well, you got to pay for half the gasoline to fill up my plane. I have my plane. It's my plane over in the local airport here. You know, it's a little single-engine plane, you know, like this one. And you know, it's a fast little zippy little booger, and the plane, you know, at that time in my life cycle, it cost $25 to fill the plane with regular, not high test, regular gasoline. And you want to get a good quality gasoline because that's driving that motor, and that motor is what gets you up in the air and helps you to get back down at the airport rather than gliding in with no power, which this kind of a plane does have a glide ratio where if you lost all power, you could survive the situation and land on a roadway or an airport. You know, just be up high when you lose power, if you can. So you have plenty. The plane I flew in had what is known as a 9-to-1 glide ratio, 10-to-1 glide ratio. So for every 10 miles up, for every mile up, you could go 10 miles this way to find an airport. So if you lose power, it's 10-to-1. So you can fly 10 miles this way, and you're going to lose one. You're going to drop down 5,000 feet, basically. So I can fly 10 miles in any direction, but you're going to lose about 5,000 feet of elevation. So if you're at 5,000 feet of elevation, you got 10 miles to find something, or you're going to go splat in some field somewhere. So let's find a runway or find a highway that doesn't have a lot of traffic on it, because you don't want to put that sucker down on a car. It's nice. You could go in the same lanes, you know, and make sure you don't have to go under a bridge because you might peel your wings off. You know, you're trying to do this without a crash, because crashes mean you might get squished in the crash, and we don't want that either. Yeah, what do we got going here? Looks like we got a little dent inside of this cover. That looks like either that or the paint just peeled off, and there's a depression there because there just happens to be a depression. There's probably the similar kind of depression on the other side. That's probably just paint that's peeled off in this photograph, because you can see the curvature where this paint peeled off. Someone needs to get out there with a bucket of white paint. And come on, let's maintain this aircraft. We don't want to, it looks like a dent. It's not a dent. It's a depression. It's an aerodynamic depression. Probably something to do with the spinning propeller right there. Notice it comes right to a point. It's coated with chrome just to make it look pretty. And when that sucker starts to rotate, you can see the painted propellers. The notion is here you have a variable pitched prop. So when you start up the engine and to let it warm up, you rotate the props so that they're flat, they're perpendicular with the body of the plane. So there's no forward thrust those props right now are in a forward thrust position, assuming the sucker is rotating counterclockwise. So as that blade swings down this way, it catches air, pushes the air that way, and gives you thrust this way. That's how Newton's law. For every action, there's an equal but opposite reaction, except for things like friction and whatever. And so, but when that sucker starts spinning at, several 3,000 RPM, and then you change the pitch on the blades so that they have a position like is shown in this photograph, you're going to move forward, and you're going to be ready for takeoff. In which case you increase the pitch of the blades even more. But you rotate those blades so that they're this way, so they're perpendicular with the plane, which gives you little or no forward thrust, if you will, because you're not really pushing any air backwards, you're just spinning the air. But as soon as you change the angle of the pitch on those blades, in a positive way, if you rotate those blades, they all rotate the same. There's a gear system that allows you to rotate those blades during flight, at the beginning of the flight and at the end of the flight, and particularly at the beginning, because you want to get the engine warmed up with the blades pitched perpendicular to the plane, the zero pitch. And then when you're ready, when the engines have warmed up, engine, it's a single one, it could be 6-cylinder, it could be 8-cylinder, it could be 4-cylinder, similar to an ICE engine, internal combustion engine, ICE, internal combustion engine, ICE, not immigration and naturalization, not ICE agents. We're talking about an ICE engine. Yeah. And these kinds of planes run on gasoline, aka isooctane, regular isooctane. Yep. Anyway, so I got free lessons. We went up 4 or 5 times. I don't know why. For some reason or other, I said, why didn't I just say, all right, come on, certify me to be a pilot. I'll take the test. I'll do what, let's do what we need to do. So I'll be your first graduating student. I didn't do that. I should have. Then I could have been a pilot. I got about 2/3 of the way through all that. I mean, I learned how to fly the airplane. So if I was flying with somebody else, for example, and he passed out, because I don't know why, I could take over the controls of the airplane and return it back to from where we came, and I could successfully land it on the runways and so forth. It's, you have to learn how to do it, but it's obviously learnable. I learned it. I was 22 years old. My mother would have probably had a heart attack. Jimmy, don't do that. It's dangerous. Son Jimmy. James, what are you doing? Did you get permission to fly an aircraft? You. Mommy, I'm a student. I learned things. And I was a student at Union College. And this kid was at Union College, lived across the hall from me and said, hey, you want to learn how to fly? I just got my license. How cool is that? Yeah, this is a few years ago. quite a few years ago, actually, come to think of it. All right. The lifestyles of the rich and famous. I thought this article was interesting. It says, "Oh, let's see what rich people do that regular people don't do." And you can see the essence of what might be considered a rich person because they're pretty. What do you mean? Rich people are pretty and not rich people are ugly? No. But anyway, so they have a picture of someone that would give you the sensation that they're wealthy, clean. You know, they have makeup artists making up their face. They have hair artists, hairdressers that diddle with their hairdos and the cuts and the blow and the puff and the combing and all that. And they just sit there and look at their iPhones while all these people are making them look pretty. So there's a pretty one. And BuzzFeed community reached out to rich people and said, "Hey, tell us what you do that you think non-rich people don't do. Let's see what the activities of the ultra-rich do that regular people don't." They could, but they just don't. Well, one of them is, and you know, not everyone, but a lot of these things, I plead guilty. Whenever I go to Disney, there's always like one or two families who take advantage of the VIP service. And I must admit I've done that. It is really quite spectacular because you have for $500, at least it was $500. You know, today it's probably $1,000 or more, who knows. Haven't been there in a while, but I love to go to Disney. Oh my God. We've been there 30, 40 times. We live in South Florida, so it's let's say a 3-hour drive or a 2.5-hour now you can take a train. You know, there's a train, a high-speed train that travels about 130 miles an hour. You hop on that. You can buy round-trip tickets, and they'll take you from here to Orlando. You can be reading your iPhones and your iPads and all this. They'll take your luggage, and you get yourself up to Disney, and you don't have to have the 3-hour drive, which is not a big deal. We have a Tesla, so the electric ride just about empties the fuel tank. So you stop somewhere on the turnpike halfway and get a little top off your tank, if you will, using that metaphoric expression. Yes, I'll have a fill-up, please. Instead of iso-octane, if you don't mind, I'll take electricity. Do you have any high-test electricity? Fill up the tank, please. Top it off. And that's, you know, we've been driving electric cars now for 4.5 years. And quite frankly, it's really quite nice because you don't have the smelly, you know, you get the stuff on your hands when you go to a gas station and, you know, you grab the handle. But God knows who grabbed that handle before you grabbed the handle. So you're basically picking up all these germs, you know, and people don't realize it. But the handles on those things are not sterilized. So, and, you know, unless you put on gloves to fill up your tank, or have the service attendant, if there is one, let him fill up the tank. And then you don't have to touch the nozzles and all that stuff. You pay, you know, maybe 20 cents a gallon more. So on a 20-gallon fill-up, you know, you're basically giving the guy $4 or $5 to do it for you. It's worth it. Either that or put gloves on, or use a towel to wrap around the handle of the device that's in the, you know, the the fill-up station, whatever they call that thing, the gasoline dispenser. Anyway, whenever people go to Disney, the rich and famous, they get the VIP service, for an extra $1,000. You go subterranean, and they have elevators throughout, so you pop up in the middle of, wherever the hell you want to be. They have this huge subway system, and I mean, you wouldn't believe it. What's underneath the ground at Disney is, in my opinion, more exciting than what's above the ground. Yeah, that's just because I'm a little strange, but because I like to see all the, how all this stuff is put together and try to re-engineer it in my own brain. And then you pop up and then you just get right online. And there's a special line for people, the VIP. Like if you've got some senator that flies in from Wyoming, you think he's standing on the back of the line? No. His staff is going to get the VIP service, and you get in the heads of all the lines because you paid for it. It's interesting how you have to deal with that, but that's what the deal is. So that's number one on the list. They do the VIP at Disney. Is that why? I thought that was pretty interesting. The rich and famous, they go to the head of the line with the special Disney passes. It might be $500 a person. I forget what it is. It's, but it changes the entire Disney experience. And if you're going to go on vacation, you may as well be a VIP. Why the hell not? If you can hack the extra couple $1,000 for that experience. Yeah. You get special colored tickets, and you get a special armband that's either red or green or something like that, which you can't slide off. You can only cut off the bracelet. Okay. And so this is number one whenever I go to Disney. All right. That's rich and famous. Carrying on with this light conversation we're having here. Remember, we're at Disney, and we're talking at coffee, and the others around the table, they're not making a lot of noise. You can text me and aggravate anything I'm saying. So now I have not listed all 30, 40, or 50 of these things that the rich and famous would do that you wouldn't do because you're not rich and famous. Here's the next one. I skipped 2 and 3. I went right to number 4 because 2 and 3 is like, who cares? Number 4, in-home services. Yeah, I'm guilty of this one. My mom is wealthy. She had her beauticians come to the house to do the hair and nails. Instead of going out to, some strip center somewhere. No. They come to the house. We actually had, see number 2 on the list. I grew up, I guess in the world of things I grew up in a wealthy family. Look, Corey's calling me. What does Corey want? Hello?
Morning, this is Steve at the front desk. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing today?
Very well. Is it okay for me to drop your mail at the front door? The box is filled up.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yes, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Have a good day.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye, Steve. All right, you heard it. You heard it right there. I answered the phone call with my iPad, and it was on speaker, and you could probably hear it. And Stephen is saying, the mailman says, your mailbox is full, you fool. What do you want me to do? When you want to take the mail and give it to Mr. Wilson? So the mailman gives the mail all wrapped up in rubber bands to Steve. And then he just called and said, do you mind if I'll bring this up to your front door and leave it at the front door. I said, that'd be fine. Thank you so much. Yeah, so you heard that live and in color. That's a real phone call that came in on the speakerphone. He does not know that was transmitted all over the world on all 3 social networks simultaneously. This is a simulcast, you know. We are broadcasting on YouTube Live, Facebook Live, and Twitter Live, also known as X. Simultaneously, yes. All 3 social networks we are zapping this out to them at about 8 megabits per second. 8 megabits of digital streaming. They call it streaming. It's not tape recording, it's streaming recording. And it creates a big file. Then that file is saved under my handle, you know, the thing after the @ sign, at FAU4U. That's my handle. You can search me. You can go on to YouTube Live, or any of them, actually. I got the same handle. Yeah, because I did this a long time ago, before people thought of it. And I got my handles all squared away, so, you know, I was handle number 1,000 instead of handle number 13 million. You know, you got a handle now, it's whatever you want, you know, and then there's a 6-digit number after it. Which, yeah, no, FAU4U. FAU4U. 5 alphanumeric characters. FAU for Florida Atlantic University, although this is not affiliated with the university. It's just that I happen to be on the faculty of FAU for 20 years or so. So, you know, I kind of like have FAU branded on my underwears. And then the number 4, and then the letter U. FAU4U. How cool is that? And of course FAU is for you. Yeah. For a fee, I teach things. Yeah. Anyway, so one of the things that I have to admit, we had a live-in housekeeper. It's hard to. I'm embarrassed to say this thing. My father did very well. He made a lot of money. Yep. He made a lot of money. So we had a live-in housekeeper. She lived in the house. She had her own. Our house was built, so there was maids' quarters. So, you know, her name was Mary Grillo, with a G. Mary Grillo. How about that? All these years later, good old Mary, nice Portuguese lady. She lived about 10 or 11 miles away, and every Monday morning, Mr. Grillo would drop off his wife to our front door, and she'd come to the door and knock on the door, and she had a key, and but she'd knock on the door anyway, just so everyone knew she was coming. And at 8 a.m., or usually like 7:50 on Monday morning, you'd hear this little tap on the door, and then she'd use her key and just let herself in, and then she'd make a, you know, kind of a lefty turn, walk through part of the living room, and go to the first level, and put her little bag on her bed in the maid's quarters, if you will. That's, I guess, what you would call it. And, you know, she had her own bathroom down there in the first level, and She had a bed, and it was fully heated and air conditioned and everything. It was fully finished off, all knotty pine wood, and it was beautiful. I mean, it's spectacular. And there was a big family room there on the first level with a 12-seat bar, full bar, all the proper liquors and spirits and things, and CO2 and water, and just like you go to a bar anywhere. Yeah, I think it was 10 or 12 seats, so people would lean up against the bar, and my father had me as a bartender for a while when I was like 12 or 13 years old. I had to have some what they call apple crates, the 6-inch apple crates, lined up behind the bar because I wasn't tall enough to reach across and hand the cocktail to, my parents when they had parties in the house. We had them on the first level. They'd park up on the second level, and then they'd walk down to the first level. And Mary Gwillow, she'd dress up, in her black and whites, and serve cocktails and serve, finger food, so forth. And I would do the bartending. How cool is that? They had a staff of two. Yeah. So we had live-in help. When my sister was born, we added to that a nurse. So my mother had a full-time nurse when my sister was born, so that the nurse would look after the very young sister of mine, Deborah. Yep. So we had a housekeeper, we had nurse. They drove their own cars. I must say, they didn't have they didn't have limousine service. They drove their own cars. They each had a cat. I'll tell you that story later. All right, in-home services. She had a manicurist. That's number 4. We did that. We had Mary Gwillow in there. She took care of all the cleaning and the cooking and preparing breakfast, lunch, dinner, whatever it was. And then at 8 o'clock she was off. 8 p.m. she was off duty unless we had a house party, which she might go to midnight or something. I think my dad paid her extra, if there was late night parties. They're usually over by midnight. I remember some of them chasing me around like they pretended they were lobsters. And I was like the food. So I'd be crawling around all over the place trying to escape. Some of my parents' friends who wanted to pretend they were lobsters, and I was dinner. You better crawl a little faster, Jimmy. I'm going to get you. This is when I was obviously a little younger, like 2 or 3, 4 years old, something like that. Yeah. Anyway, I became the bartender. Collectibles. Let's see. I think antiques, rare books, and art. Yep. Yeah, my parents had rare books and art, for sure. So that's number 5 on the list. That's why I show it here. Air taxi. We didn't own a private jet, but we flew private jets. We rented them out, and usually a 14-seat plane, and we would fill up half of it, with the people we needed on our trips. Yeah, we did that. So that's cross off number 6. We had, let's see, we didn't have pet night. Her parents made them dress up as, no, that didn't happen. So number 6, I gotta crop that out because that didn't happen. All right, what's number 8 here? Yes, we had annual ski trips to resorts. Aspen, yes. Vail, yes. We did Zelmzee and, Amsterdam, Europe. Zelmzee. The city was Zelmzee with a Z. Yeah, it was a ski resort. And the gondola would take you all the way up. They call it glacier skiing, I think they call it. Yeah, we did that. We had a party of like 18 or 20, 4 or 5 families with their kids and our kids. And it was a magnificent experience, I will say. So we're guilty of number 8. Sending your dog to regular private sheep herding lessons. No, did not do number 9. Dog psychiatrists? No. Dog psychics? No. Nope. Owning, all right, number 11, yeah. Owning second homes, yeah. We had a house in Connecticut. A summer house in Connecticut. So after school was out, we'd moved from our regular house, or main house, whatever you would call that, on the north shore of Long Island, and we go up to Candlewood Lake near Danbury, Connecticut, nestled in the middle of the state. Had a nice 6 mile lake by 2 mile wide, 6 miles long. It flowed into other lakes and so forth, but a nice big lake, and you could have a boat and flop around there was an island in the middle of the lake. How about that? And you could pull up your boat on the island there and have a picnic or something. So yeah, we had a second home. No third homes, just the second one. I only knew of the second one. Yeah, teaching in private. Yeah, had private schooling. Yep. So we're guilty of number 12. Extracurricular etiquette. Yeah, I had some of that. Guilty of number 13 also. All right, so that's it for the lifestyles of the rich and famous, or the rich and not so famous, which I'll call myself. Now, if I was, if they had the technology today, 15 years ago, I would have had all this solar stuff associated with my house. There's no question in my mind. I believe in the whole idea of having alternate energy source in case the electric grid goes down because of hurricanes or inclement weather, whatever. Brownouts. We haven't had brownouts in Florida. They have in California because they haven't properly planned. Providing electricity to everyone that lives in a certain jurisdiction, is the obligation of power companies. They're licensed by the state, for example, and the licensing agreement says you provide power, to these properly developed PUDs, where you have the subterranean wiring all in place and all that kind of stuff. And you have to make sure you can generate enough power to service all these houses. And they agree to that. And it's an important contract between the power company and the state. And the power companies have agreements between each other in case Florida has excess power. It might sell some of its power, and they have metering to make sure of this. Yeah, they do. They have big meters. Those control rooms all this stuff is right through those control rooms. If you're wondering what all those guys are doing there. So if just looking at my watch, I got a message. as you can see on my wrist. My wrist is buzzing. Anyway, so these power companies buy and sell energy based on what their needs are. So if Florida needs energy and Georgia doesn't, they have a way of providing electric energy into the grid in Florida. And then that gets dispersed to the various power companies in Florida. And there's, like 5 or 6 of them. Regionally, you got a different power company over there in Tampa than we had over here in Boca Raton. We lived in Tampa, we live in Boca Raton. Different power companies, there might even be different power rates. That's all negotiated between the municipality and the power company, depending on, the extent of the grid and the density of the population. All these different things determine, the price structure, the fee structure, the permitting structure between the power company and the, the county, for example, or the city that the power company is energizing. You use all these different kind of words. Anyway, so there's a picture of a house with a bunch of solar cells on it, and I would be one of those. We lived in a house that's like perfect candidate for such a thing. And it's obviously important to attach those suckers properly, so if it gets windy, they don't peel off the roof, because those panels are expensive. And one goes, many go, because they're like wired together. So you have to make sure the installation is proper. So I'd be one of those guys that would want a complete definition. I would want drawings to show the actual cross-section of how they would install that on the roof and how they would get attached into the the grid of 2x4s, 2x6s that are holding up the roof. Yeah. It's, you see all that flat white, but it's attached to, there's something underneath. There's a grid of, I'm going to say wood, that's underneath that roofing material that's attached to those 2x6s. And there's a layer of plywood underneath that. There's several layers of material for a properly built up, they call it a built up roof. You start off with a layer of this and a layer of tar paper and a layer of whatever, and then they paint it white, and now they're putting, solar panels all over it. And you can see they're raised, and they have some kind of an installation thing, and there's a portal that brings the power. You can see this ductwork right here, which connects the power absorbed by the sun on these panels over to here. So they're all connected together in, I guess, parallel. And here's a panel. There's another connection you can see. So I'm an energy conscious person, so I understand this stuff pretty well. Look at that! Even has a couple of panels on his shed there. So he's really into this electric stuff in this photo. Yeah. So I'm guilty of this particular story. Now, look at this. This really excites me, is the fact that Amazon Prime is experimenting in a market or two, having humanoid robots pick up the package and drop it off at your door. And it can read the box, you can read the labeling on the box, it picks up the box Those robots are capable of handling 50 or 60 pound boxes without any problem at all. And it would walk up and drop it off at your front door, just like the Amazon guy would do. But it's a robot. It's an Amazon robot. Yep. According to the story, over 20,000 Rivian electric vans are currently used to deliver Amazon packages throughout the country. And the number is expected to increase to 100,000 by the end of this decade, which is, we're 2025. So in the next 5 years, they're going to add 80,000 more Rivian Amazon vans, electrically energized, hopefully. So for now, humans are driving the vehicles, but watch out, those humanoid robots may soon be driving the van also. But right now, a human is driving and supervising the activities of Robbie the robot, whatever that guy decides to call him, if they're going to call him something. 907-330, would you please come back? This news source has released a new report revealing that Amazon has built a new facility to test humanoid robots in an environment mimicking deliveries in the real world. And they're practicing with these robots best practices, if you will. And of course, when you can flip a switch either verbally or physically. Maybe there's a little panel in the back. You can flip a switch and put it in training mode, in which it will listen and record everything that you're talking about with regard to this humanoid activity, the work experience, if you will, at Amazon in their facilities, and sorting packages, picking up packages, putting them, at the front door, packing the truck for the delivery for that day, from sorted places where these packages are sorted, through and to. Yep. So you're going to see these humanoid robots be popping out all over the place. Tesla has its robots. They're on the third generation of those robots now. Yep, I've been reading about it every day. Yeah. Well, here's the thing: you can touch the picture and actually take the picture from the background. We don't need to do that. No. Well, let's do it. I'll show you how that works. You just touch it, and see down here, there's a little sticker that says copy, speak, add a sticker. I'm not too sure I've done that. And this is, let's just copy it. And then I can go to my, what do you call it, this tab, which is, all your text messages. And I'm going to find the one that has my name on it, because I'm going to send a text, there it is, a text message to myself. See, it's to Jim Wilson up there. So I'm going to touch on there and paste it and send it. There you go. So now in my text messages I have this image right here. Oh, there's Jimmy. There's Jimmy in Maryland. There's Jimmy in Maryland. There's Jimmy by himself. Anyway, these are images that I previously texted, apparently, with this. Yeah, they're all on this particular text message Here's some more of the Tesla robots. They have a slightly different look to them. You can see they're washing dishes. They're training them to do all kinds of things. There's a picture of Jimmy, actually, in my studio. I need to let's see what's going on here. Let's save the photo. Showing photos. That's a good idea. Oop, there it is. Now I'm in photos. I'm going to edit this picture. And it's already been... There we go. We need to deal with the bright. This is too bright. There we go. That's better. Yep. 10:15 in the morning when this picture was captured by the digital camera I have right up there. I had a little thing with scissors on it. I've replaced that with this little stalk. I made room so I can have my coffee there. It's 10:20. We've been on for an hour and 17 minutes. I think I've covered most of the news of the day. I have to go back to today, yeah. So we're going to Anchor has just come out with an improved line of their Solix LFP battery backup things. And this one has a handle and wheels, so you don't have to, it weighs probably 70 pounds. So the handles on the side are, they're there to pick it up, but it's like picking up a cooler that's full of beers and ice. It's a little heavy. I'm always interested in what the inside looks like of these things. Up there we go. Anchor was good enough to give me an inside view. There's the LFP cells, and you can see the charging and discharging apparatus that's up on top. You see toroidal transformers, which is these devices and their heat sinks. That's what those copper-looking things are on the top. They're connected to power transistors that convert DC to AC, because you can see on the front of that you got AC outlets. You got, these are 110 outlets. There's a 230 volt outlet, so you could plug it in essentially into your car, your electric car, and charge the car. Or you could use the battery in the car to charge Anchor. You should be able to go both ways if the car would permit that. But this is a nice device. There's no engines, no gasoline. You can plug it into your wall socket to fill it up, charge it up. Those LFP batteries are good for like 10,000 cycles, so it's good for like 20 years, and all right, I'm about done here, and I hope you have I gotta go back to this one. There we go. I gotta go full page on this is June 5th. This is Thursday. I'm gonna go full screen on this. I'm gonna say bye for now. See you tomorrow at 9:05. For some reason or other, I can't seem to get 9 o'clock. Either the internet isn't right, or after that, or the last minute I gotta go relieve myself. Whatever it is. 9:00 just seems to be a problem. We're gonna say 9:05. I'm trying to settle in on a time. So at 9:05, you're gonna hear this music, and I'm gonna come on. You're gonna have about 45 seconds of this kind of an image, so it's Thursday the 5th in June. A lot of stuff coming out through the Supreme Court. Today is Thursday. The Supreme Court likes to make their decisions on Thursdays, and we're getting a little long in the tooth, and so they need to come up with some answers on some of these key questions that Trump has just zapped right to the Supreme Court Because we need to resolve this stuff. These activist judges are interfering with the president's ability to operate his executive office. And the Constitution provides for his ability to do that. And these activist judges are filing, stays and things, interfering with things that Trump is trying to execute. And the Supreme Court must get in there and stop it. He stopped some of them, but there needs to be like a universal code of conduct with these federal judges so that activist judges are not allowed to operate and interfere with the executive branch in its normal course of business. And the President of the United States and the executive of the White House and the executive offices of the White House, they have things they have to do. And they have to comply with law and all that kind of stuff. But these judges just can't pull this stuff out of thin air and say, let's stay this and we're going to figure out if it's okay. No, that's not. There has to be some other rules of order here with the Supreme Court telling these federal judges to stop it or you'll be removed from office. And there is a procedure for removing judges. So if they want to continue to be judges, they have to behave. I think that's the right word. And if they don't behave, someone's going to get the hook and pull them out. And there's a procedure for that. These judges are appointed. Their federal judges are appointed, not elected. But they're subject to, they're subject to, I'm trying to think of the right vocabulary words to use here. They have to behave. That's the best way to put it. Behave. Stop talking. Stop interfering with the executive office of the United States of America. Stop. They're going to figure out how to stop that. In the meantime, I'm going to stop. And let you go on with your day. It's at 10:26 in the morning. You can, you can't see the clock right now. I'll give you a fast look at the clock. It's 10:26 and 48 seconds. Yeah. So it'll be 10:27 in about 20 seconds. In the meantime, I'm going to give you uninterrupted Epidemic Sound instrumental, our royalty-free background music, and we'll catch you tomorrow at 9:05. Bye-bye.